back with another chapter video reading from the Geneva Project. This week I'm going to be reading chapter 22 for you, so I hope you enjoy. Journey led us along the path of glowing markers. I was glad he was in front of me because every time I got a glimpse of the creepy blue glowing eyes, I couldn't help but feel the goose flesh crawling up the back of my neck. I was hoping Journey knew what he was talking about because this really did feel like a trap. If I looked behind us, all the markers we passed disappeared, slipping into the blackness, widening the abyss with each step we took. We walked for what seemed like forever, and I kept having to check myself mentally to keep thinking positive. It was far too easy for the dark and twisted thoughts to consume you out here. Plus, I could feel Nova in my head, keeping an ever-watchful eye on me, and I didn't want him to know I was scared and doubtful. I had just finished running through my positive mantra when suddenly the markers all vanished and blackness engulfed us. Even my orb had been snuffed out. I stopped in my tracks and felt the others crowd around me. I was shaking by the time Nova flicked on his flame, illuminating our little group. "Everyone all right?" he asked. He got a murmur of acknowledgement from us. I began to feel foolish for panicking. I needed to remember to rely on my powers. I should have used my night vision or just flashed another orb. Why did I always let fear get the best of me? Nova was right to bring me out here. I needed more practice before we went to the locker. What if I got down there and I was too scared to remember what to do? What if they separated us and my friends weren't there to rescue me like they had tonight? Wait a minute. Was this what he was doing? Was this Nova's plan all along? This whole night was just a training exercise and I was failing miserably. I felt so betrayed. They had all been in on it, playing their part. This was my test to see if I was ready for the locker. They were throwing things at me left and right to see what I would do. Would I panic under pressure, or would I succeed and use my powers? Well, I wasn't going to let him do that to me. I wasn't going to fail. Not now that I knew what was going on. I drew from my anger, and a new confidence settled over me. I produced a large orb and spread it above us, expanding the light all around us. "Okay, Nova, what's next? Do you want me to fight off a tar cat? Maybe mind bend a monkey? What else have you got?" I yelled, hearing my voice reverberate around me. My friends were looking at me like I was crazy, but I didn't care. I started kicking the plants that were threatening to tangle my feet. I stalked off the path, still kicking and yelling. "Come on, what else is hiding out there for me? What's out here?" Then, as I was about to take a swipe at a tall spade leaf, it moved on its own, revealing a dark, round face. I leapt backwards, barely able to stifle my scream. Suddenly, Nova and the others were by my side again, swooping to my defense. Darn it, I was caught off guard again. I marched forward, back to the spot where I'd seen the face. I pushed the spade leaves apart, and this time it revealed a whole body. "Who the heck are you?" I asked, annoyed that I'd been duped again. No response. I took a step closer and grabbed hold of his dark brown skin and pulled him wriggling from the bushes. "I asked you a question. Who are you?" I demanded. "Asia. My name is Asia," he replied. His eyes were large, and he was obviously frightened. I instantly felt that I had been wrong about tonight. The mood of everyone was so tense and fearful that this couldn't have been part of the training exercise. Who was this boy that materialized in front of us? It dawned on me that I was still tightly gripping his arm. I let up a little and decided I should release him. Instead, I offered my hand. "I'm 65, I said. He hesitantly took my hand with both of his and closed his eyes. When he opened them, he was smiling at us. "You came," he exclaimed. "Were you expecting us?" I asked, looking back at my friends. Yes, I was hoping you would come. I heard you calling for me, so I left you a trail to find me. I knew if you were who you said you were, you could find me," he said excitedly. "You're all Truitts, aren't you?" he asked, talking faster now as he was walking past me to Sparrow and the others. He took each of their hands, as he had done with me, somehow verifying that we were who he thought we were. He was as thin as I was and probably around the same age, but much taller, and his skin was so dark. It was the darkest I'd seen, gleaming almost black under the blue light I'd cast above us. He was wearing nothing but a thin cloth around his waist, and his jet black hair pulled back at the nape of his neck. It made me shudder for a moment because it bared such a resemblance to Gemma's hair. The thought of her out here in the forest made me cringe. I shook the image from my mind and tried to focus on Asia's babbling. "Asia, you said you heard us calling you? What do you mean by that?" I asked. I heard you, just you, he replied, beaming. I have seen your lot in the forest for a while. You make a lot of noise, you know, he said, looking at each of us. But I'm a Bedo, and I'm not permitted to show myself to locals, not unless you call me. We all just looked at each other while he smiled at us. But Asia, I didn't call you. I didn't even know you existed. Ah, but you did. You talk to me all the time. You say you wish to know the truth. You wish to learn more about yourself, your power, your family. But finally you ask the right questions. You ask to be enlightened. Truit means enlightened ones, Nova telepathed to me. Yes, very good, Asia said. You can hear our thoughts, Nova asked. Yes, I just told you. I heard you calling me. Nova and I looked at each other, and I couldn't stop smiling. I finally found someone who could help us, someone who could help me find out the truth. I was brimming with excitement. I didn't know where to start. I turned back to Asia, and he was smiling as big as I was. I will help you understand 65. Take my hand, and I will show you, Asia said. As I reached for his hand, I heard a twig snap suddenly, and we all jumped. I whirled around again to find Asia had disappeared. Journey went into full hunter mode and telepathed for me to turn off my light. I did as he asked and stayed huddled together with Nova and Sparrow. I staved off my panic and used my powers to see my surroundings as Journey taught me. I tuned out everything around me and then slowly let certain sounds back in as I was able to identify them. The humdrum of my heart, the slightly faster flutter of Sparrow's, the steady beat of Nova's, the powerful pumping of Journey's, and then another nervous humdrum. It must be Asia's. That gave me hope that he was still nearby and hadn't vanished into thin air. But then I heard one more nervous pitter-patter, not too far off. Although it was going at hyperspeed, it was definitely a human heartbeat, and something seemed familiar about its nervous beating. I was drawn toward it, and telepathed to the others that I was going to help Journey. Not knowing what I'd caught wind of, the others didn't fight me. I relied on my vision now to make out my surroundings. I spotted Journey a good 10 yards ahead of me. He was going toward the sound of the desperately beating heart as well. He must have been getting closer, too, because the beating picked up, becoming more sporadic. Still, I had an unsettling feeling that I knew who it was, but I couldn't put my finger on it. How could I possibly recognize the heartbeat of a stranger? That was it. I couldn't. This wasn't another Bedo of the Bedo people or some local or grift. It was someone I knew, someone I had connected with closely enough to know the sound of their heart, someone wise enough to follow me out here. In an instant, I knew who it was. I lunged forward as fast as I could to reach Journey before he cornered the unsuspecting prey. But I knew I would be no match for his strength once he locked on, and he had such a lead on me. It was imperative that I got there first. I didn't know what Journey would do if he reached his target before I did. I knew what I needed to do. I closed my eyes and launched an orb between Journey and the sound of the frantically beating heart. It did the trick. He was blinded and stunned as I had been when I touched the leaf. I would heal him as soon as I got the chance, but I had a more important matter at hand. Remy, I called. I know you're out here. It's okay. I promise. It's okay. Where are you? I heard rustling and footsteps, but still saw nothing. Where was he? How was he hiding like this? It seemed odd that I was unable to see him, even with my night vision. The only thing that gave him away was his heartbeat. I recognized its uneven beating as his nerves kicked in. It was his tell every time we got a pop quiz, or when Greeley came around, or even Gemma, and most recently when he decided to audition for the solo. 65? I heard his quiet voice right next to me and turned just in time to see him materialize. He shimmered into view, head first, slowly, like the surf retreating back to the sea. I couldn't believe my eyes. Remy was standing before me, where only a moment ago there was nothing. We both stood staring at each other, wide-eyed. I didn't know what else to do, but I had an overwhelming urge to hug him, so I did, and he actually hugged me back. For a little while, I forgot we were standing deep in the dark forest. We could have been in room 13, or the courtyard, or the dining hall. All of our familiar surroundings rushed back to me, filling the empty space with our happy memories. I hadn't realized how much I needed Remy until I had him back with me that instant. I felt whole again, stronger somehow, and so relieved that I could tell him the truth. Remy, I squealed, releasing him from my embrace. Oh my gods, I'm so glad to see you. Then I remembered where we were, that I was just blinded Journey, and that poor Sparrow and Nova still didn't know what was going on. Come with me, I said, taking him by the hand. I lit up the canopy with a large yellow orb, spreading it all the way back to Nova and Sparrow as I walked toward Journey. It's okay, it was just Remy. I've got to help Journey real quick, I telepathed. Journey was sitting on the forest floor, rubbing his eyes. I was relieved to see I hadn't blinded him that badly, but I could tell he was still going to be really mad at me. I knelt down and put my hands over his eyes. Sorry, Journey. I knew it was the only way to stop you from ripping his head off. I apologized as I gently placed my hands over his face to heal him. There, I said, stepping back. Better? Yeah, thanks, Journey grumbled, rubbing his eyes and letting them readjust to his surroundings. He reached out for me to help him up, but as soon as I offered my hand, he yanked me to the ground and then whispered closely into my ear. That's twice now. If you ever mess with me again, I'll make you pay. There was a serious calmness about the way he hissed these words into my ear that sunk them into my mind, where I was sure they'd lay embedded forever. I had no doubt that Journey was serious. Ally or not, I pushed him too far. I knew it was the right thing to do at the time, because I wouldn't have taken a chance that might put Remy in danger. But it seemed I had used my last pardon with Journey, and I shuddered a bit at the thought of what he might do if I crossed him again. I shook it off as best as I could, because the others were coming toward us now. What happened? Asked Sparrow breathlessly, reaching us first. What the heck is he doing here? Demanded Journey, glaring at Remy. Journey was already on his feet, and he extended a hand to me with a stern look, but I accepted it and let him pull me to my feet. Remy stood beside me, shifting his weight uncomfortably, while he waited for me to somehow explain how and why he was here. I turned to him and repeated Nova's question. Yes, Remy, what are you doing here? You mean to tell me you didn't invite him, Nova said, with a slight nervous twinge in his voice. No, she didn't. None of you did. None of you would tell me what you were up to, and I needed to make sure that Remy trailed off. That she what? Nova challenged, stepping closer to Remy. But I heard the end of his thought. Somehow I could read Remy's mind. I could feel his genuine concern as his mind finished what his lips could not. He wanted to make sure I was safe. He was worried about me. He still cared about me, maybe even more than ever now, even after how I treated him lately. It made my heart swell. I pushed past Nova and hugged Remy once more. Well, I said, I'm not sure how you got here, but I'm actually really glad you're here, and that I don't have to keep this from you anymore. Yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of explaining to do, 65. What are you, and how can you do these things? Asked Remy wide-eyed. What about you? Shot back Journey. Why couldn't I see you? Because it's pitch black out here, in case you haven't noticed, Remy said, gesturing to the now brightly lit forest around us. Well, it was, before that thing, he said, pointing to my orb of light. That was me, I boasted, smiling proudly. I lit our way out here. But I couldn't see him either, I said, turning to Journey, who was looking agitated. That's not supposed to happen, right? Right, Journey said, unless he's hiding something from us. Like what? Asked a confused Remy. Are you mental? It's pitch black out here without that light. It was all I could do to follow you. Then the light went out and I panicked. I thought I was going to be lost out here forever. Remy, you know how I can make this light? Well, Journey can see in the dark, and he's taught me how too. It's like how nocturnal animals see so they can hunt. We can see everything. It's amazing. But what's puzzling is that we couldn't see you. That's why Journey is confused. I think it's abnormal that we couldn't detect you following us. Nothing about this is normal, Remy shouted. He's a truant, came a small voice behind us. It was Asia. He reappeared again and was approaching us. How do you know that, Asia? Sparrow asked. Same way I know you're a truant, he said, bringing his hand to his heart. I feel it. Who is he? Remy asked, with wide eyes. I can show him, said Asia excitedly. I can show you all. That would be wonderful, Asia, Sparrow said. How do you show us? In here, he said, pointing to his head. Okay, I think it's time for us to be heading back, interrupted Nova sarcastically, not buying any more of Asia's quirkiness. No, I said, stopping him in his tracks. This is why we came out here. We all need this. We're in this together. Fine, Nova sighed. Let's just do this fast. We can't stay out here all night. Sit, Asia said, making a sweeping circular motion with his long tanned arms. I hope you enjoyed listening to Chapter 22 of the Geneva Project Truth. Tune in next week for 23 when we have a guest reader for you. And as always, you can head over to Amazon and download your own ebook copy of Truth for free. Enjoy and happy reading!